Jason McCrossan on
106.9 SFM.
My guest tonight is a star of stage and television who's currently midway through a national UK comedy tour. He's one of the most recognisable faces on television, or maybe he's just got one of those types of faces you don't easily forget. He is Brian Conley, and he joins me on the telephone right now. Good evening, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I am very honoured to be here on this wonderful show.
I'm sure you are. Now, you're a proper Londoner.
Yeah, no, I am. I was born in Paddington. My father's a cab driver, a black cabbie, and I moved out of London. I find it too hectic, London, these days. So I'm sort of a bit more rural, but yes, I'm a genuine London lad. I'm not a cockney. I wasn't born in the sound of both bells, but I love a bit of pie mash.
When you look back, are there any specific things or any specific people, like any old neighbours or any particular places that you used to play that you remember?
I just remember living in a block of flats. I mean, I lived in Kilburn until I was 7, and then we moved to Wembley, and then eventually Watford. So I remember school. I vaguely remember a young lad called Wally. There's a good old London name. Wally. You would never name your child Wally now, will you? I mean, that's a kiss of death, isn't it? I'm going to call him Wally. Yeah, no, it's all a bit vague. I mean, I'm 52 now, so funny enough, we were talking about it the other day, that our first memory, and one of my first memories, and I met her recently, and I've known her for years. I always had a crush on Cilla Black when I was young,
right,
as a very small child, and I remember she used to have a Sunday night show, and we watched it on this little grainy telly in this block of flats that we lived in, and at one time my mum would say, once it's finished you've got to go to bed, and I knew I had school the next day. But I sort of remember that, and I probably was about 6, and you know, there's a lovely photo. There was a sort of like this sort of run-down sofa in at the back of the garages, and there's a photo of me when I was about 3, and it was in the local paper, 3 or 4, with all these kids sort of sitting on this sofa. And yeah, no, they don't know how lucky they are. You know, when we were kids, we used to get a plank of wood, 4 wheels from next door neighbours playing. That was me, the old go-kart. They still make them. It's called a larder. Boom. But yeah, I mean, they shape you those sort of days, and I was always into mimicking my father, who was quite a good opera singer. I mean, he never took it up professionally. I think he could have, but so I would mimic my dad with his opera singing and that, and no, they were happy days, but a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, your dad being a taxi driver, who was the most famous person he had in the back of his cab then?
Oh, that is good. You know,
Come on, he must have. He was a cab driver. He must have told you about 100 times.
No, he didn't. No. He once found a whole case of cutlery, silver cutlery, which he handed in to the police, which is typical of my dad, good old dad. And eventually, after about 3 months, no one sort of picked it up, and he got it, and we sold that. And I think we even went on holiday with that money. But no, famous people, I'm sure he told me, but they all drifted in and out. He's gone now. He died about 15 years ago, so I don't get a chance to ask him these days.
And you talked about him singing opera. Is that where you got your first taste then for wanting to be on the stage? Because being in London, did you have the theatre at your doorstep? Would they take you to the theatre? Is that how you got your first taste for it?
No, I later found out that I'm dyslexic, you know, and I have trouble with my, not my reading, thank God, but my writing. I write phonetically. And so I had a real job keeping up at school, and I didn't understand why. So the only way I could diffuse this was by making people laugh and becoming the joker of the class. They always said, Brian Conley will persist in being the joker of the class and will not get on with his work. I was learning my trade from a very, very young age, and so I don't regret it. It may be why I am being dyslexic, but that was my first taste of it, of sort of making the room laugh. But my dad was a very keen amateur sort of opera he used to do the odd production and that, and I would watch that. But even from the age of 2, we went on holiday to a place called Chelsea Bill, and my mum and dad lost me in the ballroom. There was a band on, and they could hear this often, and I was only 2 years old, and they told me that I was pretending to go to the toilet behind the trombone player. So it's just in me. People are always surprised that I've got quite a strong singing voice, but I always say I was born to sing, and everything else I learned. And it just sort of fell into place. I was not any good. That's not the right British talk. Is I wasn't any good, but I was not any good. Okay, mate, we can live with that.
Yeah,
but I was no good at anything else. For me, it was always being an entertainer. I would come to life. I always say I was just born to do that.
And so, did you ever join a band then? Did you ever try and get into a band? Were you ever a singer, maybe when you were a teenager at school?
Yeah, I was in a couple of duos, sort of around about when I was 14, 15, that used to do the clubs.
Can you remember the names?
18, they were called, blimey, I know it, 2 G's plus 1, because they were brothers. So their surname was G, something like Gordon or something. So it was 2 G's plus 1. And I used to do that as a teenager. And then when I was when I was 19, I joined a comedy band called Tomfoolery that were based in Wales. And I was with the band for about 3 years, and we would do the clubs and the Northeast and the big sort of variety clubs and that. So so that was my sort of training in those early days. But having a band behind you, it's very much like the Black Habits and the Grumbleweeds and the Barron Knights. It was that type of band. So we've done a lot of comedy as well as a few songs, and that was wonderful for me because I had the chance to sort of hone my craft, and also had the confidence because I had 4 other guys behind me going, well, if it all goes wrong, we'll sing another song.
Okay, Brian, listen, we're going to take a break. When we return, we'll talk about who you admired from the world of show business when you were growing up, and also what it's like to work in the profession today.
Lovely, thank you, Jason.
The Pretenders and Talk of the Town. It's 106.9 SFM. A very good evening to you. You're listening to Monday Nights, Monday Matters, with me, Jason McCrossan. On the old dog and bone, I've got comic and television star Brian Conley. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening to you, Jason. Good evening to all your listeners. I am very honoured to be here.
Right, listen, we talked a bit about your early life growing up and what you were doing then and how you got on when you were younger. But in terms of broadcasting and what you listened to, what you absorbed when you were younger, were you influenced by any big radio stars or television personalities when you were growing up?
Well, of course, I've always loved Tommy Cooper. I really enjoyed that programme on him recently.
Was that the programme
Peter Sellers?
Yeah, okay.
And here's a coincidence. The little girl who played Tommy Cooper's daughter in the film is my daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her name's Lucy, and she played Little Vicky, which is Tommy Cooper's daughter. So my office, well, I work for, just said, oh, they've got an audition, would you like can Lucy go? And I went, yeah. And she got it all on her own back, and she had to do a few scenes with the guy playing Tommy Cooper, David, and we were very proud and very, chuffed that she enjoyed it and wanted to do it, and good for her. But I always loved Peter Sellers as well. I like funny people, Les Dawson. I like people that are naturally funny. I'm not so keen on people that say funny things. I much prefer... I was never a huge fan of Monkhouse. I appreciated him and thought he was great, but he never really made me laugh like Cooper did and Sellers. When Sellers done the Clouseau films, for me, they were classics and still are.
And it seems like you had the desire to jump onto that stage and perform as soon and as early as you could. When you're on the stage of either the theatre or the television, and I suppose this might link back to you telling us earlier about your dyslexia, and that meant you were always having to perform in front of other kids. You've always seemed confident on stage. Even from some of the early clips of you, you've seemed very at ease performing in front of people. Was there any point that you thought, oh God, maybe I should have done something else?
Well, I suppose having all my eggs in one basket, not really, dare I say, being any good at anything else. So I would say I was born to do this, but I've been nervous many times, but I just have a knack of looking like I'm fine. You know, I do have and I think being dyslexic as a child and having to sort of like punch through it and say, you know, no, I'm good, I'm okay, helps me. You know, that sort of shapes that sort of personality where no matter what, I'm going to sort of, you know, I'm going to get through this. You know, because so I had to, as a very young child, deal with a lot of, you know, confusion in my head with regards not being able to keep up on that. So, you know, I think that made me quite confident, but really deep down I'm exactly like everyone else, you know. But when I'm live and on stage, you know, I just enjoy it. I really do. As a commitment, you pay good money and I'm going to take you on a journey, and I want you to walk out of there and go, you know what, that was a lot of fun tonight, and that's what I hope, you know, and that's what I want.
Do you think you could have managed to work in an office doing the 9 to 5? Is that something you think?
No, well,
what would you? How would,
no, no, that's a short answer. No, I don't know really. I really don't know. You know, because I was dyslexic, that never ever crossed my mind. You know, anything with a load of words and that. Oh no! But ironically, in my world and what I do, there's loads of scripts, there's loads of learning, there's loads of those sort of things, you know. But at the time when I was younger and sort of being eased, well, not eased, but wanted to do it, I never sort of assumed that that's very much a part of it. But, you know, that's why I know I'm dyslexic, because I can learn a big scripts, but then, you know, it's a total word blindness and funny words pop out if I'm writing or reading. But, you know, it made, like I say, I embraced it. It made me what I am, but to actually sort of work in an office,
I suppose
or 9 to 5, I don't think I could ever have.
And it's having someone standing over you and being in that sort of environment where you've got to be very deferential to various different people, and just that whole office environment can be quite challenging, especially for entertainers, I think, where you're used to. It's solitary in a way, isn't it? Because when you're up on stage, it's just you. Yeah. And you know, it's very rare people get jobs where, like, say, 2,000 people are watching them every night. You know, there's challenges. There's challenges with every job you might do. But, you know, you still work as a team. If you're doing a big musical, you still, you know, there's lots of meetings, there's lots of discussion and lots of tuning it up, you know, so you have to work as a team, which would be the same as if you were in, dare I say, a normal job. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, there is a commitment there, and you know, I've grown up with it, you know. I mean, no one, you know, if you pluck someone out and say, right, 2,000 people, you've got to go out and make them laugh for an hour, you know, I think a lot of people would just crumble, but, you know, I've grown up with it, gradually honing my craft, you know, and in the early days I was very fortunate that I could do summer seasons with Cannon and Ball or, you know, people like that, and gradually build up my act, you know, which sort of started at 12 and then 15, and, you know, then you'll sort of close the first half. I used to do quite a lot of shows with the Grumbleweeds. I used to love the Grumbleweeds, but I would close the first half and do 25, and then, you know, suddenly you're doing your own shows, you've got to build up on that, and it's a gradual progression. You can't just push someone out there and go, go on, do an hour, you know, and but you know, what was the question? No, I tell you what, we're going to wrap it up soon enough. And the other thing as well is, working in the kind of sphere that you have done, television, that must bring its own politics as well. When you write a script or you're coming up with material, is there too many people who... without a doubt. There is a lot of politics involved, and lots of things you cannot say and do. You know, I'm not joking, when I was on Saturday nights, you couldn't say the word bum. I had a joke once where it was about my girlfriend. I said, she's so fat, when she walks across the beach, she rubs her footprints out with a bum. and they went, oh no, you can't say that, you can't say bum. Wow. And we had this big discussion. I wasn't there. I had to say bottom, and I said, well, it's not funny to say bottom. Yeah. It's funny to say bum. You know, there is, you know, and I have to say, you know, the nice thing when I'm doing my own show
it's my stuff. It's stuff that I want to do, and I believe that this will, get to the end product, which is you all standing and going, "What a fantastic night!" And that's what I want. I've always been committed to that, and it fuels itself. You do well. I always say, if you do well, people will go away and tell 10 people. If you do really bad, they'll go away and tell 20. You've got to keep it at a level, otherwise word will get about. And with Twitter and the internet and everything, it fuels itself. If it does well, everyone will just go away and go, "Oh, you should go and see that. It's like a good film." You want to tell people about it. But no, I enjoy live. I love doing my own show. I'm just about to. In August, I'm going to take on playing the Barnum for Cameron McIntosh.
Oh wow!
So this is just a little farewell tour just before I go and do Barnum.
Well, Brian, listen, it's been great to talk to you this evening. Good luck with the remainder of the tour. I know you've still got a few dates to do.
Thank you very much. Come and see it, ladies and gentlemen. It's as much fun as you can have with your clothes on. A potpourri of entertainment, and I guarantee, I know you will have a good laugh.
Brian Conley, great as always to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks, Jason.
Good night.
Cheers, mate.